Look up at the night sky for a moment and imagine something incredible. Instead of seeing an empty black sky with scattered stars, you see a massive glowing ring stretching across the heavens, wrapping around the entire Earth. A bright arc of ice and rock shining like a cosmic halo above our planet. This is exactly what Saturn looks like from space. But what if Earth had rings like Saturn? How would it change our planet, our sky, and our lives? At first glance, it might seem like the most beautiful sight in the universe. A giant band of shimmering particles circling the Earth. During the day, sunlight would reflect off billions of tiny ice and rock fragments, creating a glowing band across the sky. At night, the rings would shine softly, like a permanent celestial light. In some parts of the world, the rings would appear as a thin, glowing line stretching across the sky from horizon to horizon. In other places, especially near the equator, they could look like a massive arch floating overhead, so large it would dominate the sky. People might grow up seeing the rings every single day, just like we see the moon. Artists would paint them. Photographers would capture them. Entire cultures and myths would be built around them. But while the rings might look beautiful, they would also dramatically change the way Earth works. First, we need to understand what planetary rings actually are. Saturn's rings are made of billions of pieces of ice, dust, and rock. Some are as small as grains of sand, while others can be as large as houses. All of them orbit the planet at incredible speeds. For people living near the equator, the rings would cast giant shadows across the planet. Imagine standing in a tropical country and seeing a permanent shadow slowly moving across the sky each day as Earth rotates. Some regions could experience partial shade for hours every day. This could lower temperatures in those areas and completely change local climates. Certain places might become cooler and darker than they are today. Plants would receive less sunlight, which could affect agriculture and ecosystems. But in other regions, the rings might actually reflect extra sunlight back onto Earth, making some areas slightly brighter at night. In fact, nights might never be truly dark again. The rings could reflect enough sunlight and starlight to create a constant glow in the sky. Imagine stepping outside at midnight and still being able to see the ground clearly without streetlights. For astronomers, however, this would be a nightmare. One of the best things about Earth today is our dark sky. It allows telescopes to see distant galaxies, nebulae, and stars clearly. But if Earth had bright rings lighting up the sky every night, they could create light pollution across huge parts of the planet. If Earth had rings, launching satellites would become extremely dangerous. Why? Because those rings would contain billions of fast-moving rocks and particles. Any spacecraft trying to pass through them could be destroyed instantly by high-speed collisions. Planetary rings slowly disappear over time, gravity pulls ring particles toward the planet, and collisions cause them to break apart or fall down. Eventually, pieces of the rings would begin entering Earth's atmosphere. And when they do, they would burn up just like meteors. That means if Earth had rings, we might see meteor showers far more often. Imagine looking up at the sky almost every night and seeing shooting stars streaking across the darkness. It could become one of the most common sights on Earth, but there is also a darker side to this. Some larger fragments might survive the atmosphere and crash into the surface. Over thousands or millions of years, Earth could experience more frequent meteor impacts. Thankfully, most pieces would likely burn up before reaching the ground. Still, it would make our skies far more active and unpredictable. Now let's talk about one of the most fascinating effects of Earth having rings, how they would look from different parts of the planet. If you lived near the equator, the rings would appear huge and dramatic, stretching like a glowing bridge across the sky, almost like a giant halo surrounding the planet. Different cultures around the world would interpret them in different ways. Some might see them as a symbol of protection, others might believe they were created by ancient gods or cosmic forces. Human history itself might be different if the rings had always existed. They would influence mythology, navigation, calendars, and even religion. But how could Earth actually get rings in the first place? There are a few possibilities. One theory is that a large asteroid or moon could break apart near Earth, forming a debris disk that eventually spreads into rings. Another possibility is that a massive collision with another celestial body could blast material into orbit around the planet. If Earth had rings like Saturn, our planet would be one of the most breathtaking sights in the entire solar system. A blue world wrapped in a shining cosmic crown, visible from millions of kilometers away. And every night, when we looked up at the sky, we would be reminded that we live on a truly extraordinary planet.